Hello, everyone. For our startup chat this month, we have Tania Stacey, a co-founder of East Forged Pty Ltd. Now, as you do, you meet interesting business people on platforms of train stations or in the gardens walking. Tania is a resident of Castlemaine, and we happened to cross paths. And I said, I'd love to hear more about your startup journey. So, thank you, Tanya, for agreeing to chat with us.
You're welcome.
Tell us a little bit. What is your business today? What's your model? How you distribute products, and what do you actually distribute? So,
What do I do?
yes.
So my business is East Forged, as you said, and East Forged is a cold brew nitro infused tea in a can. And I don't actually have a can sitting near me, which is very remiss of me. Um, so we cold brew the tea, we pop it in a can, we add a little mix of gases, very similar to a Guinness beer. So you shake the can, you pour it, and it looks like a beer when it's poured, but it tastes like a tea. And so that's my business. We use a lot of Australian grown tea. We use green tea grown here in Victoria. We use black tea grown in far north Queensland. Our white tea does come from China because no one makes white tea here in Australia. I work with a business partner up in Queensland. She's up in Queensland. And the idea behind East Forge was to increase the value of tea in the mind of the consumer. That is our business model, the reason for our business. Um, and so that's my business in a very clean nutshell there.
So, how do you distribute your product? You've got this product, it's a very distinct market. How do you distribute? How do you sell? And where do you sell to?
So we sell via e-com online. That's a large part of our business. We also sell to retail outlets, IGA Maxis in Castlemaine. Shout out to him. He's actually been there from day one supporting East Forge. And Mary down at Superhero, she sells us there with her beautiful Vietnamese food. So that's a smaller part. We also sell through markets, the larger markets as well. And that's a lot of our marketing as well, getting liquid on lips, we call it, for people to taste our drinks. Because with any food or beverage company, you need that tasting component. But no, what we've found is because we're a very unique product, we are truly unsweetened. We don't add any sugars. We saw this gap in the market that was for an unsweetened tea. And Australia would be one of the very few countries in the world that doesn't have ready, accessible, unsweetened tea. So we created this drink, and what we find is our people find us online. So that's where the premium products are sitting right at this time.
Yeah. So, when you're in traveling in the United States, iced tea is a very big
Mm,
beverage. Certainly experienced that in my past travels. And I notice in Japan, they have a lot of canned cold beverages too. So it certainly is bringing that gap in the market to Australia. So well done.
thank you.
Um, how long ago did you start, and what was the impetus that started this business, Tanya?
So Kim and I met in, it was like 2017, and we caught up at MICE in Melbourne, the coffee expo, and there was a small tea expo at the same time. And we met there and we thought, this is crazy. How come tea doesn't have the same profile? It is the second most consumed beverage in the world, behind water only. Why doesn't it have the same profile? And as a young child growing up in Australia, you could always get a good cup of tea. It was always loose leaf. My dad was a truck driver. We would stop at, the truck stops and everything and order a pot of tea, and that's what you got. It has changed over time. And it's probably the last, 30 years, I'd say, that coffee has really progressed past tea. But this is where we started talking about tea together. Around the same time, I had entered a competition, a World Tea Brewing competition in Australia, and I won it.
You have
So
what, an Australian champion or a world champion? Tell.
the Australian leg of the World Tea Brewing Championship.
Oh,
Yes, I won
amazing.
that. And that competition will take you down another rabbit hole. It's based very similar to the barista competitions as well. So you have a blind tasting, you create a signature drink, so it makes you see tea in a different way. I then went on to represent Australia in China, in Shanghai in 2018, and it was just mind blowing to see the type of drinks that are created for tea over there as well. So Kym and I started talking about this, and we realized that tea overall has a probably an interesting profile out there. And it's not just in Australia, it's in the rest of the world as well. People have this halo image of tea, even in places like China. But China, their little tea cafes, their tea shops and everything are struggling in this world. The world generally is just changing. And I think the internet and social media has a great influence on the movements and the way, the lifestyle. People moving from the country to the city. This is common in so many countries. People are on the go, they're busier, so they just want that take and go drink with them. So even like I say in China, the tea shops were suffering where you sit and enjoy tea and taste tea. They're moving more out into the burbs. And while I was over there in Shanghai, I read an article from a tea company over there saying how they were having to recreate and reimagine tea as well into that perfect on the go. So it was in line with what Kym and I were thinking as well, to create a drink that was ready on the go. And what is in the market at that time in Australia was heavily catered for and well catered for the sweetened iced tea with the Lipton brand. And a sweet and fruity iced tea, perfect. You can't, they've been doing it for many decades and well good at that. But as far as this unsweetened tea that tastes like tea forward, is not well catered for here in Australia. There is some little avenues, but in other areas of the world, you will find it. So that was the premise of it. Kym and I come and work in the tea industry, so we understood that and we saw that gap in the market. So that's how we started. And we were going to start with just cold brewing some tea. And we are often asked, how did you come up with the idea of the gases? What made you think of that? Did you see it somewhere? No, we hadn't seen it anywhere at all. It really was, we'd seen some ideas out there, but nothing like what we've come up with. It was really pushed from Kym works with hospitality to create tea menus. That's her business up in Brisbane. And so she works heavily in convincing cafes to put on cold brew tea. It's easy like cold brew coffee. Have that on tap. It's a good return on your cogs for what if you do that in-house. But it was still hard to push that envelope. And we realized that even cafes, hospitalities, restaurants, they want an easier, quick service solution. So she came from that part. I come from winning the competition. I'm also a Taiwanese absolute nerd and traveled to Taiwan for my teas as well. So after winning the competition, that made us rethink about tea. And a lot of people talk about blending tea when it's the dried leaf and like your English breakfast, your Earl Greys and everything. But we come from a different perspective. We look at it from a liquid tea perspective as a category where you brew the tea and then blend it. Because teas, from black teas to green teas to white teas to oolongs, they need different temperatures, they need different timings. So it's working in that perspective. So that is where we started from. This is how we decided in 2019 to run a Kickstarter campaign to help our very first production. We had struggled to find anyone that could do small enough quantities for us and that would put tea into their vats as well. We actually did find a crazy craft brewer in Sydney that was willing and prepared to do it. Prior to 2019, the craft brewing industry was, they were doing pretty well. So to handle us was not really on their radar at all.
So you had to find a crazy craft brewer. I
Yeah, it was.
like that.
Yeah, he's a bit of a grumpy man too, but he's good. I like him very much, and he's great. So he worked with us. So he also educated us on the beer gases that we use. So we taught him about tea. He taught us about the beer gases. And so the idea of the gases was not just creating a typical iced tea, unsweetened. It was creating a tea beverage that's crafted and elevated for social occasions, because tea is used in afternoon tea, come in, have a cup of tea. It's a welcoming drink, and helping a friend when they're feeling sad. Let's have a cup of tea. You'll feel better. But we don't have that tea that goes to the next occasion. And that was the idea, is finding new social occasions for tea as well. Mm. So our first production was in February 2020, and this little thing happened it was like right at the end of February 2020, and then this little thing happened in Australia that shut us down a little bit. And I said to Kym at the time, don't worry about it, Kym, this too shall pass. Just give it a couple of months, it'll pass. Well, it didn't. So our strategy at that time, we were going to go through hospitality, because that's where we saw our beverage clearly sat. Tea and food pairing is a real marriage made in heaven. Tea is like wine. It's the cultivars, it's the terroir, it's all of that, and it pairs beautifully with food. And so that was our go-to-market strategy. That obviously shut us down very quickly. So then we started to pivot into e-com. And from e-com, and as things started to open up, and also retail at that stage, they were struggling just to keep their heads above the water. So they didn't want to know about new products or anything like that. So we just struggled through that time. We were fortunate because Queensland didn't shut down as heavily as Victoria. So Kym was able to get out and about and still bring on some hospitality clients that are still with us today, I will say. And like I say, also Brendan was very good. He just said yes at the get-go.
Oh, my head is just booming with all these challenges that you've, I mean, apart from learning developing a new product, the manufacturing process, and then the distribution. Can I just wind back? You mentioned you
Yes.
kickstarted.
Yes.
So was that like a crowdfunding type situation?
Yeah, Kickstarter is just a crowdfunding platform. And
what did you actually offer in return? And was it successful? I mean, I imagine you'd need a little bit of funding to get started.
yes. Oh, we raised, I think it was around 20,000 on the Kickstarter. It was primarily more to promote the brand as well through a group of people that are very interested and keen on new innovations. That's the community of Kickstarter. So there was no equity in the business at all. They were, they were rewarded with hats and badges, and the first product coming off the production run. So that's how they got rewarded. And I am very proud to say that still many of those people are our clients today. We were very pleased to have them still on board and their belief in us. And just prior to the Kickstarter, there were still these major tea festivals happening in Melbourne and Sydney, the Melbourne Tea Festival and the Sydney Tea Festival. And we had been on a bit of a road show with some our tea in the kegs at that stage to do tastings and to get feedback as well. So we had done that sort of market research. So we really went to your really earliest adopters and innovators, that or people that support those innovations. We went to those people first.
That's a very good tip. So you've gone to e-commerce. Was that a hard step? I think everyone else was scrambling at that time to how do we sell our products online? Did you find that an easy path, or have you had to change that a few times since?
Um, no, it was not an easy path at all. Neither Kym or I had any real e-com experience, only just a little bit with our other little tea businesses. So it has been a major learning path for us. We were
How did
very,
you learn? Where did you go?
oh, I'm a very determined person. So as far as I had built my own site for Cuppa, which is my other little tea business, through WordPress, and that is just working my way through online tutorials. But our business for East Forge is on Shopify. So again, I also have a YouTube channel, so I'm very comfortable with YouTube, but I haven't put much up on there. And it's a tea education type of YouTube channel. And so I'm very comfortable with YouTube. So I just started teaching myself through YouTube how to do Shopify. And I just have that mindset that there couldn't be that much difference between WordPress or Shopify. However, I will go back and say that Kym has been very good in the early days of looking at grants, local grants, state grants, and federal grants, and that has been part of our growth as well. So in the early days, we had received a $10,000 grant to help us to build the website, and we actually employed a Shopify expert to build our website. This was the very first website that we did. And what I will tell you is that you can break Shopify. And
Whoops.
you really shouldn't play that around with it that much.
Yes.
It just made it very slow. It was a very, very slow website. So obviously people weren't going to wait around for 2 minutes for it to load up, etc., etc. This expert should have stopped us at so many different levels, but $10,000 to have the website built, and it was extremely frustrating for me personally. So that's when I said, Kym, this is crazy. I'm going to just take a month off trying to sell the drinks elsewhere through retail and everything, and I'm just going to sit here. Give me a month. Well, it took me 8 weeks or 7 weeks, I think it was, going through YouTube, learning through Shopify, all their assistance learnings, and realizing that it's not unlike WordPress as well. They just use different words. Just use a theme. Don't think those themes are set up for you to succeed. Don't
It's the
start.
largest online retail platform in the world. So there's a lot of people with Shopify. So we hope that you get there in the end. You're comfortable with it now, all this
Oh,
way on? Yeah.
a- absolutely. Yeah, I'm very comfortable with it. I'm the person that works behind the scenes on it. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's basically, but Meta is a different thing. I do have a coach on Meta, so that's a different thing. Yeah.
And it's always changing too, Meta. There have
Yeah.
been lots of changes. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So, how do you go working remotely? You obviously met your partner at this event, but now she's Queensland, you're here. How do you make it work?
We like I say, we're both from the tea industry, and the tea industry is very small, so we knew of each other. We make it work. We set the whole business up to be remote. So when COVID came along, it was really good for us to then put it in practice. We have our regular meetings once a month. We have built a strong relationship, as in respecting each other's skill set. At first, we were both over everything, and now we just realized very quickly in the first year that we didn't have time to do that. We had to put more trust in each other. Kym is a chartered accountant, so that helps an awful lot.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I come from a marketing sales background, so we just lean into our strengths. We, in the very early days, I like to tell people this, that Kym came to me and said, Tania, I think I have this questionnaire I want us to do. And it was one of that Simon Sinek type of questionnaire of people that work together. And I was like, oh God, here we go. Because she's a dot the I's and cross the T's. I'm the big picture type
He's
person.
an accountant. Sounds
Exactly.
like you've got complementary skills here, yes?
We have. And so we went through it, and what we found is even though we're vastly different people, we have the same core values. And so with those core values and what we want to do in life and everything, we've been able to build on it. And we also really focus on the fact that we keep our communication very open. We don't rely just on emails. We chat to each other a lot. We have our weekly meetings. We check in and have strategy meetings at least every 3 months, the 90-day plan. We keep our checklist against it. We keep ourselves accountable to each other to make things happen. So that's basically how we make it work. We also get together in person. She was just down here yesterday. We're looking at doing an NPD with the local brewery down here. So
Explain what an NPD
a
is.
new product development with a local brewer
Yeah.
down here,
Has
not
it
in
evolved a
Castlemaine,
lot?
but close by.
Yeah. So since your original products, how much have you expanded with new product lines?
We haven't at all. We have stuck with the 3 flavors, and we have a lot of people asking us about when are you bringing out new flavors. But to be honest, we want to make sure these worked first. And so we've really leaned into it. You can't make massive decisions, we believe, on just your early adopters. You need to start going into your next lot of people as they're starting to come in to see how it's resonating with them. So those early adopters give you some really great feedback, and they give you some really good feedback on how your product sits. But it's when you go that next step, and that's what I found. We've done big design, finders, keepers, and makers and shakers, and we did them for 5 years, doing all the tastings. And those people, we sat and did very well within that group of people. But they're the foodies. They're out there, the people looking for it. And then first year, I did the Sydney Royal Easter Show. And in the Woolworths Dome, completely different lot of people, completely different. That's going more out into the mass market. So hearing their words come back to us was really different. They asked different questions. They would say different things to us. And so that got us really thinking. And it also then gave us that I'm trying to think of the word, the data that we needed to, and what we needed to do to add new product development. Otherwise, you're just shooting in the dark.
Yeah.
You need that feedback.
So even with your 3 existing flavors,
Mm.
how much have you scaled it up and how have you managed that? Is your craft brewer, crazy craft brewer, still coping? Or is that a point, are you looking ahead to where you have to rethink your manufacturing and distribution?
Well, in this year alone, our e-com has been working amazing. And like I say, I truly believe it's because people find they can't get the premium products in the retail shops now. They're focusing more on your home brands. So I think as a premium product, you need to be online. We've had an increase of 140% month on month increasing. It's been huge for us. So there is a strain starting to happen with our crazy brewer. We are doing productions quite regularly with him, and hence the reason why with the new product development, we're talking to another brewer down here.
Mm. Oh, well, lucky there are a few craft brewers around, and
Well,
having that
yes.
diversity is really important. And I
Well,
know we did a story with the long paddock in Lansfield, is it? Or the long
yes.
and I noticed they were doing canning for another. Yes, so they all help each other out.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
their environment, their ecosystem has changed as well. Craft brewers, you know, has changed for them. They're not as busy as they once were. So a lot of them are now looking at the co-packing. And it's great because they've got great machinery.
Mm. Yes, yeah. Oh, well, it sounds so this must keep you really, really busy.
Yeah.
What would you do, thinking back in this short, busy time that you've had, what would you do differently if you were starting over again?
What would we do differently? I think what we would do differently would be we have been pretty good at looking at accelerators and getting involved in accelerators and different programs and building that community. We probably would have done it sooner.
Yeah.
That's what we would do.
That's music to
Um,
my ears. We have a pre-accelerator program starting very soon in Central Victoria, so I love to hear that feedback. Yes.
Absolutely. The networking is invaluable. Yeah. And that's what we would probably have done sooner. Um, Kim and I are pretty happy in the way we've tackled it, considering we had no background in any of this. As far as because distribution of dry leaf tea is completely different to liquid tea. So at this stage, what we have sometimes said is that maybe to launch quicker and grow quicker, we possibly would look for investment earlier. However, if you've never been in the business before, your first investment piece is really, really hard. We
Mm.
have that now. We have had an investment piece. We had an investment just over, sorry, maybe 18 months ago. We got $1.5 million investment from a Vietnamese company. Um,
Well, that
that,
creates a whole new problem. Well, not a problem, it's an opportunity. But how did you educate yourself to, was that part of the accelerator program? You learnt about how to manage an investor and what terms did you offer?
yes, that again, that was all through the accelerator.
Yeah.
You know, we've done different ones. We had done a female focused one with SBE in Melbourne because we could do that online. That was during COVID. We had some connection with, we also went through Seed Lab, which is a Woolworths funded accelerator specifically for food and beverage. We found that very difficult to find something that way at that time. Um, and so yes, especially SBE because it's all investment and they gave us very, very good insight that way. And Kim is the one that's really led the way in that side. We made lots and lots of connections. We'd reach out through LinkedIn. It's what we learnt we had to do and just meet with people and chat to people that were in the industry. We met up with the founders of Liars, I don't know, the non-alcoholic drink, Carl Hartman and this is terrible. I don't remember his name, the other one. And they met with us. They were very generous because at the same time we started, the non-alc movement started as well. And that was new for us. So they talked to us about all different parts of investment because their business was very heavily investment. So yeah, it is networking, serious networking. And honestly, you can start thinking if you think you're going to need investment, you need to put aside at least 2 years to try and land your first investment piece. It does help once you've done it once, though, because then you're proven. It's the same with grants as well. Start with the smaller grants.
Work
And
your way up. Yeah.
yeah, we have been. there's been a number of grants that we've gotten, federal, state grants and local grants, which have been female founder friendly.
Mm. And there is an advantage at the moment for female founders. There's certainly some federal and state government support to encourage female founders to step
Mm.
up, and certainly, yeah, it's great to tap into when you're in that situation.
Mm.
So I asked you what you do differently. My next question, your final question was, what three tips, would you give? Possibly they'll be similar, but what three tips would you give to someone thinking of starting a business?
I Yes. So I do have one. The first one is what we just talked about. Join a community, build that community of other founders, and don't be scared to share your idea and talk about your idea, because ultimately no one else wants to really steal it, because you're already along the way, and it will save you time if people have been in and around that industry. Reach out to people. I know we have reached out to people that have said, yes, we're happy to chat to you, but be aware that we may be in the same competitors. And
Yes.
then we make the decision whether we spoke to them or not. So that is our my first one. And I'm just, because I made notes about this, because I wanted to be really, and you have to make sure your idea passes the mum test. There's a really great book out there called The Mum Test by Rob Fitzpatrick. And you can be talking to your mum or your friends, and they go, this is great, this is great, this is great. And that's your first area of encouragement. But you need to have the people that are going to go, well, especially with our drinks, go, oh, that's horrible.
Mm.
You need that, because you need how to adjust. So
Yes.
that's my first one.
Yes.
My
Validation, very important part of our
Yes,
program too. Yes.
yes, yes. So get out as much as you can, whatever your product is. Um, the second idea of my second suggestion is talk to your customer. As I alluded to earlier, try and get past your earliest customers, but talk to your customers. For beverages, it's liquid on lips. And all the markets that we did, we both kept a diary of comments made to us, the type of people that walked up to us. Kym, of course, kept how many sales we did, how much sampling we did. So we kept a record of all of that.
Yeah.
And what I want to, and look at your branding and really think about your branding. A lot of people get that one wrong, and you will be encouraged to fall into the norm. But what I'm going to say to you is be prepared to read this book. You'll actually find me in it, so there's a bit of self-promotion in there.
Ah,
This Louis Grenat, he is a crazy Frenchman that lives in Ireland. It's good. His book is very, very practical. His podcast is really interesting. He really drills down on his customers. He's just great. So you can follow him on LinkedIn, and I would highly, highly recommend that book to people. It just gives you a really great to-do list on how to break down the branding and marketing of your product. The other one for branding, I recommend, I know this is probably showing up backwards. I'm happy to give links on this.
no,
This
it's good.
is,
Yeah.
this is a professor in South Australia, and she focuses on your distinctive assets, which is so
Yeah.
important as far as a brand. Like I say, I'm sorry that I don't have my cans with me at the moment.
We'll put a
What
link
am
to
I
your
saying? Here's one right
website.
in front of me. I didn't see it.
Here's one prepared earlier.
I was looking at the back of it. That's why I didn't see. So
We have a pig.
we have a pick for our green tea and Pattaya. And it was always about building a very strong brand, because ultimately the bigger brands could just, if your idea is that great, later on they can either just swoop you in and cut you out. Have something to help build that community. And so our brand has always been very strong. And if we had listened to some suggestions, we would have tea and fruits all over the cans. But these are our tea pets. So these are your drinking buddies. And
Yeah.
people, these tea pets, we have a monkey and we have a cat as well. And it's all in the anime. those illustrations bring people across the aisle and have walked up to us and said, can you tell us about your product? And it's because of that. And that 3 seconds that you have on a retail shelf to grab someone's attention is so important. So even if it's that makes people stop, pick up the can, and what's this about? Yeah. So that's my second one. And the third one is, which I also spoke about, grants. Grants, state, local, federal, and also the R&D grant, especially in, I know for food and beverage, it has been brilliant for us to be able to test different teas and everything. So that is, not many people know about the research R&D incentive grant.
And have you found that I know there's a lot, because it is an R&D grant, there's a lot of accountability in reporting back to them. Have you found that easy to manage?
Yeah, I've got Kym.
Of course, you've got Kym.
It
You have
has
got the
been.
perfect co-founder.
I know. But we have been very strict on ourselves from day one, from the very first production. We kept cans, and yes, we had them all tested, but we also kept cans and did our sensory testing for 2 years, and we checked them every time. So we knew when we were no longer happy to be selling them. So we know our shelf life, not only from the risk perspective, it's also the sensory perspective. And that's a discipline, I truly believe. So like the R&D that we started yesterday, the spreadsheet's out, we keep notes on everything. The recipes we're trying, the response to it. So our first productions that go through, our trial productions go through, we will do sensory testings, we keep videos, we keep photos, everything. And so if they ask for anything, it's just sitting there, and you do it right then and there. Don't try and do it later. I've got to get to it. Do it then and there.
Capture it. That's very good advice. Yes, later on will never happen quite often.
The memory's not there.
We could keep talking forever. I'm going to head down to Maxi IGA shortly, so I'm going to grab one of your cans off the shelf there and give it a try in this beautiful autumn weather. And I think the moral of this whole story is, if you do talk to strangers on train platforms,
Oh,
you never know who you're going to be standing next to. So thank you so much for being a guest of Startup Centre Victoria and sharing your knowledge. I've got a feeling we might be dragging you into some more events one day, if that's
oh,
okay.
love to. I love to share that, especially for women, I
Yeah.
must say, we are just such a very small percentage. So we
Yeah.
need to stand there beside each other.
Appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.